Someone should probably have YouTube up to see if this is even on.
Probably a good call.
We are live on YouTube, boys.
Wonderful.
We are live on YouTube. So I guess that means I have to do the intro just like it's a regular podcast, right? This is like a regular podcast.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I think
live.
it's a little bit of it's more than just a regular podcast. We're live, and it's a very special day for Pistons fans everywhere. Maybe a slightly less special day for Cavs fans everywhere as well, but
Slightly less. But
Slightly
okay,
less.
we are live. So welcome everybody to the live edition of the Palace of Pistons podcast, part of the Believe Podcast Network. I'm your host. You're seeing my face. And I'm Mike King-Milano, joined as always by my two co-hosts, Aaron Johnson and Jasper Apollonia. Fellas, it's a special day today, isn't it?
Oh, it doesn't get better than this. And you know what? The future is looking so bright for the Detroit Pistons. I had to put my shades on. I got my chalice. I got my Rasheed Wallace jersey. I got my best fur coat. This is a huge night, not just for the NBA, but really for Detroit. This is a complete revamping of what this team, what this organization, which has been, let's be honest, inconsistent at best over the past decade plus. This is where it all comes together, and all those years of watching Will Bynum and Rodney Stuckey and Austin Day and Kyle Singler and Gigi Datome, they all are worth it just for this. Adrian Wojnarowski already confirmed on Twitter earlier today the Pistons are going to be selecting Cade Cunningham with the first overall pick. Whether they trade it and break I was gonna say whether they trade it and break everyone's heart, we'll see. I do, unfortunately. I will say though, I don't think that's gonna happen. If they do, Little Caesars Arena might burn down tonight. Those edges are gonna be extra crispy if they end up moving Cade Cunningham after all these weeks and months of speculation and hope. But yeah, we're finally here. We're finally here. And I feel like we've been talking about the Pistons and what they're going to do with this pick for years, but it's really only been about a month since they won the NBA
feels like years.
Letter. Doesn't it feel like years?
Feels like years, yep.
It truly does. And I think all three of us were very confident that Detroit was going to keep this pick and they were going to select Cade Cunningham. But with so much talk, it was impossible not to give it some credence. So, Mike, I have to say, from your perspective, with the Pistons really being locked in now to Cade Cunningham, and the number 2 pick apparently going to be Jalen Green to the Houston Rockets. As a Cavs fan, where are you right now with the Cavaliers? They just moved Taurean Prince, somewhat of an offloading for Ricky Rubio.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's more to come from them right
now? I'd be pretty surprised if they moved the 3rd pick. They already filled one void, and that was backup point guard. So, and they saved the mid-level exception by not having to use it to get Ricky Rubio to get a backup point guard. So that's helpful. They did offload Taurean Prince and an unprotected 2nd-round pick from the Wizards that was going back to Minnesota. I don't really expect them to trade the 3rd pick, barring a huge Godfather offer, but I guess yet to be seen. But they addressed a major need, and I think they're still going to take Evan Mobley.
Well, the Cavs weren't the only team to make a trade right before we got into this. The Detroit Pistons were the other. They just moved Mason Plumlee. Plum Dog Millionaire is no more in the 313, sad to say. They moved him and the 37th pick for the, I believe, the 57th pick in the draft. Aaron, Mike, do you guys think this is anything other than just a straight-up salary dump from Troy Weaver? Do you think that maybe there is something else in the works? And before you answer that, I do want to say Corey Joseph's contract is only $2 million guaranteed, unless, of course, the Detroit Pistons waive him before August 2nd, in which case only $2 million of that $12.5 million deal is owed to him. So I guess it's a two-part question. One, do you think that this is them gearing up to make another deal in free agency, possibly another trade? Or do you think that this is just moving on from Mason Plumlee, who did give the Pistons, I have to say, some good minutes last year, in order to
I think this means they're going to take Evan Mobley one.
Okay.
And,
no, or do you think this bodes well for Corey Joseph staying in Detroit? Because backup point guard, yeah, Saban Lee is now an unrestricted free agent. Dennis Smith Jr. is not sticking around. So do you think this opens up Corey Joseph as the backup point guard next year?
well, we might have to table this discussion. Actually, the pick is
We
in
are
for the
going to have to
Pistons.
table this discussion.
Oh,
we
boy.
got the commissioner coming out. It looks like not yet, but pick is in for Detroit.
Nope.
We got
Still
comments in
looking
the
at
chat. Cater Jalen Green. I think everyone in here has been singing Cade Cunningham for quite some time now as Adam Silver walks out onto the stage, and we're about to get the first pick.
And if it's not Cade, the chat's really going to enjoy us breaking down on live stream.
This will be the best content for the YouTube channel, is seeing
It really will, yeah.
seeing the explosion.
And it's Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham goes number one. The Detroit Pistons select Cade Cunningham with the first pick in the 2021 NBA draft. It's been a long time coming since the Pistons won the first pick in the NBA draft lottery. Finally, a definitive. Cade Cunningham is a Detroit Piston. He's going to join a talented group of young guys, Killian Hayes, Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, Jeremy Grant. There's so much talk coming up in the final weeks leading up to the draft of maybe they'll take Jalen Green, maybe they'll trade the pick. They like Evan Mobley, but it was always going to come back to Cade Cunningham. Now, Cade finally a Detroit Piston, a complete player. The Pistons have their guy now.
And there's going to be a lot of talk about fit initially, and we don't have to talk about that now. But here is what it looks like on the outside looking in, is that Cade's kind of he's the guy that teams spend a while trying to glue all their young pieces together. He's the one that could really bring the best out of everybody else on the court. That's something that teams look for a really long time. And they just drafted him number one overall, thanks to some excellent lottery luck and some very strategic tanking and some really good drafting last year. I remember talking about the draft last year and how we were like, why exactly did they trade Luke Kennard to get Sadiq Bey? Well, as it turns out, that was a really good choice. But Cade Cunningham brings out the best qualities in everybody around him, and that's why this is such a special pick. It's like the glue that holds everything together. And I don't really normally agree with Kendrick Perkins on a whole lot of basketball takes, but he did say that, this is a generational type of wing player. And it's hard not to look at his characteristics, his college, all of his tape, and not feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad they have Mike Schmitz actually there on their draft panel. One of my very favorite pre-draft interviews with Cade Cunningham was the Mike Schmitz interview when they sat down and talked for, I want to say, close to an hour. When you hear Cade Cunningham talk about who he is, what he's trying to do on the floor, his play style, it's undeniable. This is a really smart, talented guy who not just knows what he's good at on the basketball floor, but he knows what he needs to work on the basketball floor. Just even hearing him talk about the release angles on his jump shots, it's very obvious that Cade is not just a guy who's going to lead through what he says, but he's going to lead through example. He's improved every single year. It's easy for us, I think, to only see guys when they are playing in college and pick apart their strengths and weaknesses from there before going into the NBA draft. If you've watched Cade Cunningham in high school, you can already see the progression that he's made from being a guy who was basically just a wing player, all the way making himself into a point guard in high school, to developing that shooting stroke in college. He's improved so much. And what he's going to bring to the Detroit organization is not just excitement. He's going to bring leadership. He's going to bring talent. He's going to bring that level of moxie that makes players step up at the end of games and hit big shots and win games for their teams when they have to, after elevating everyone around them for the first 47 minutes of that game. And that's Cade Cunningham for you. So, yeah, I need to put these shades back on real quick. It's the future. It's just getting brighter by the minute. Here. It's getting brighter by the minute. And look, if you have Killian Hayes come out here next year and give you even just 35% shooting from deep, boy, that's going to be a really dangerous backcourt. A really, really dangerous backcourt for the Detroit Pistons on both ends. And Cade's got the buffs on right now, man. Like, come on.
I was just about to say, maybe he's got somebody watching this.
He must.
Who knows?
Who can blame him?
He's got to, right. This is quality content.
That's correct. But yeah, you see it. He's already embracing the city of Detroit. He's already embracing the fan base. This is the guy you want for your organization when you're starting back up, making your way to the top of the NBA.
Just a franchise-altering type of prospect that the Pistons are able to get here. And, had Jasper, I love that glass that you just
This one's for all my Detroit players. I really, in the words of Biggie, I'm in Brooklyn. It's only right.
But this is a franchise-altering prospect for the Detroit Pistons. This is the guy that you get to build around. And while the Pistons already have a lot of players and prospects that they're building with, they all can really fit well with Cade Cunningham because he is such a versatile star prospect, plays multiple the positions, defends 4 positions, can handle the ball, can finish inside, can shoot from the perimeter. He can do all of those things, and he comes in and just is going to absolutely alter the trajectory of this franchise for years to come. He steps in as the star of this team right away alongside Jeremy Grant. And, it was a very long process to get here, but the Pistons are enjoying the fruits of their labor right now by being able to draft Cade Cunningham. He is just going to completely change the dynamic of this Detroit team. I think you looked at all the young guys that they have on their roster: Killian Hayes, Saddiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart. Those are obviously the 3 main guys. Those 3 main draft picks from last year. You can throw in others like Sekou Doumbouya or Saban Lee or Josh Jackson, Frank Jackson, but none of those guys were necessarily ever going to be stars. Maybe a couple of them have all-star potential, but not true star potential. And this is what Cade is. Cade is a potential top 10 player in the league, a potential MVP level candidate player, multiple-time all-star, an all-pro level player. Like, this is the guy that you build it all around. And this is a guy that attracts star talent to come play with him. This is the guy, plain and simple, and just such a big pick for Detroit. It's going to be exciting to see where they go from here. Obviously, not to skip ahead, but an interesting kind of second round for them, as we didn't really get into it with the draft starting, but they have they've already made a move tonight with Mason Plumlee being traded to the Hornets. So they're already starting to shift the roster outside of Cade Cunningham. So we'll see how this goes the rest of the night for the Pistons.
And
yes, absolutely.
Houston has taken Palace of Pistons contributor and future Love Island contestant Jalen Green with the 2nd overall pick. What was that picture they showed of him from his Instagram? The man looks like he's about to Yeah, he really looks like a
Yeah.
Lothario. He's gorgeous. I have to say, he's really like just dripping. I feel a little embarrassed. I feel underdressed looking at Jalen Green tonight.
We do have some breaking news from Shams. The Washington Wizards have agreed to trade Russell Westbrook, a 2024 second-round pick, a 2028 second-round pick, to the Los Angeles Lakers for Kyle Kuzma, my guy Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Montrezl Harrell, and the number 22 pick in tonight's NBA draft. Russell Westbrook, now a Laker with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Thoughts?
I mean, I've been on subway cars with better spacing than them. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm just gonna say I've been on New York City subway cars with better spacing than that Lakers roster. I just wanted to get my quip in. Please, Mike, after you.
So I kind of talked about this a little bit on Twitter. I thought that is just a terrible fit. If you're gonna make a trade, go get a shooter. If you're the Los Angeles Lakers, go get a shooter. Buddy Hield would have cost you less and would have filled a role that I think the Lakers genuinely needed. So I don't like it. I mean, Russ is one of the better playmakers in the league, and maybe that him taking some of that off of LeBron, could be helpful long term as LeBron's career transitions. But I don't know. I don't really love the move. I mean, it's going to look cool seeing Russ in a Laker uniform going flying down the court on a fast break, but I just don't really understand the fit personally. I mean, I think it's good for the Wizards. I mean, they bulk up with a lot of quality players. I think Fred Katz from The Athletic said that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Bradley Beal are pretty good friends, so that is maybe worth something, but the fit's just very weird to me for the Lakers.
Well, the Wizards might not be very good, but at least they'll have their friends around them. That's something. But for the Pistons,
it's the friend game.
That's right. Hey, if it works, it works, man. Pistons,
as the Cavaliers get on the clock.
The Pistons. Oh, beautiful. I hope you enjoy. Guys wearing that cap. I think you're about to see Evan Mobley doing the same, since Woj already spoiled the top three for us. From a Pistons perspective, though, I have to say with this Wizards trade, it does definitely bode well for something that we've talked about in recent weeks on the podcast, which is the Pistons' playoff hopes going into next season. They really are, with Cade, if he is as good as advertised, they are now in that position similar to Charlotte last year, where they've added a exciting, dynamic, playmaking rookie to a roster that already has some little pieces in there. Right down to really, I mean, you think like Jeremy Grant is almost like their Gordon Hayward in this case. How does this bode for the Pistons' chances? We've talked about them maybe contending even as high as the 8 seed next year. With the Wizards out of the playoff picture, presumably, how do the Pistons have to be feeling about this Russell Westbrook trade going down?
The door's wide open, right? I mean,
yeah,
the door's wide open. You look at the Eastern Conference, and there's going to be plenty of opportunity for Detroit. Like they can be as good as they want to be, but I think now we got in this very moment we saw Mike's reaction. Mm-hmm. The Cavs going with Evan Mobley, it's locked in. Mike, how we feeling?
I'm glad they didn't trade it. I'm just happy about that. I mean, everybody was trying to get in there and grab Mobley, and that should be a sign that if everybody wants to get Mobley and move up to 3, maybe I shouldn't move on from number 3 at all, because this guy is really good. People are worried about his fit with Jared Allen. I'm not really worried about it. I think that him with Isaac Okoro and Allen is defensively tough to score on. If you're going to keep Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, and you have another lob threat, you have a perimeter defender in Evan Mobley, which the Cavs badly needed. I think the Cavs were never in a position to pick for fit, so they had to take best player available. And that's definitely Evan Mobley.
I don't even think the fit is anything crazy there. Like, they're with Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley has already enough of a face-up game on offense to where I don't think they get in each other's way. And even then, neither player is exactly like a ball dominant big man where they need the ball in their hands in order to score efficiently, or they're trying to drop 20 points on your head every single game. That's not even really what most modern NBA big men should be doing, if we're being real. Like, I see a lot of people, I think DeAndre Ayton is a really good example of this for the Phoenix Suns last year, or this year, I should say, where he scored less than he had previously in his NBA career. And you saw a lot of people questioning whether him being a little more, taking more of a backseat on offense was a bad thing for the Suns. But once the playoffs rolled around and it became more of a, grinded out, slower paced, perimeter-based scoring affair with Devin Booker taking the reins for most of the time, I thought that it really showed that Ayton taking that backseat in the regular season was a good thing, because he was able to affect and dominate games, not just on offense, but through defense and rebounding. And he didn't need to have his back to the basket or even catching tons of lobs in order to be an effective player for them. So I think with Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, I don't see any issue for the Cavaliers there. And I don't either. I think it's very interesting because now you have a Detroit team that presumably could put together one of the best defensive backcourts in the NBA next season. And in the very same division, you have the Cleveland Cavaliers, which very easily could put together one of the best defensive front courts in the NBA next year. So those are going to be, I think, some extremely ugly games, but at least we'll have fun new rookies to look, shiny new rookies to look at while we're doing it.
Yep, absolutely. And I believe Kendrick Perkins called Evan Mobley a modern day Bill Russell. So somebody grab the big cane and pull him off the set.
Dude, Kendrick Perkins has got to go.
You do have to admire ESPN's consistency to getting at least one analyst that everyone hates on their draft panel every single year. They had Bill Simmons for a few seasons there, just doing his little Bill Simmons smirk every time the Celtics did anything.
What Kentucky player did they take where he went right in the middle of the camera?
It was Metro Detroit legend James Young. Actually.
Oh, that's right. It was James Young.
I once saw get shut down by my 5'10" classmate from Birmingham Seaholm in high school. And I, right then and there, I said, I might not be an NBA scout, but if you're getting shut down by 5'10" white kids from Birmingham, I don't think your NBA career is going to go anywhere. So, and I unfortunately was very much right on that one. Yeah, never a good look. Never a good look. You're a top 10 prospect in the country, and guys named Spencer and Kyle are locking you down.
Toronto Raptors picking.
This is the interesting pick. Things are going to get interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty Barnes.
Wow.
Yeah, 4.
Okay.
Now that's not good for my. That's not good for my betting account.
It might not be good news for Pascal Siakam in Toronto either. This opens up a lot of possibilities for the Raptors, and we know Masai is not the type of GM that'll just sit around on his hands all day. He's willing to make some moves, so this is very interesting. Very interesting. Now, do you think this means they're bringing back Kyle Lowry?
I don't really know.
I was not a huge fan of Scotty Barnes. Like, I would have taken Jalen Suggs in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
This absolutely shocks me. I mean, I know there was the talk like, oh, the Raptors might take Scotty Barnes, but I never really felt like it's actually going to happen, right? But this now. So what does Orlando do here at 5? Do they take Jalen Suggs? I mean, they have a couple guards, but
I think you do.
At this point,
I think they're probably getting calls like crazy.
They probably are.
To move up.
You got to remember, like when the NCAA season was still going on, Jalen Suggs was being talked about like he was the number 1 pick, or top 2 pick. Like now he's available at 5. Jalen Suggs is a very good prospect. I'm shocked by this.
He is a very good player.
We'll see what I mean with Suggs and Book Night. It seemed like Orlando really wanted to go with a 4. They'll still have a chance at 8, but like, what does this do to like Jonathan Kuminga's value, Franz Wagner's value? Like, those are the 2 other main forwards that are going to be available.
The Magic will be able to get probably one of them, wouldn't you think? At 8.
That's what. That's what I was saying. But at 8. But what happens at 6 and 7 now? I think the Thunder will take Book Night. So 7, like the 7 end up being Kuminga to the Warriors. And then if you're the Magic, you would still get Wagner.
Depends who they're making the pick for. If they're moving,
I'm also not a huge fan of Wagner.
That's your Michigan boy. What are you doing?
Come on, man.
I'm a Michigan guy, but
well,
I mean, Franz is a nice college basketball player. I don't know if he has the all-around game to flourish in the NBA.
Well, so there has been talk that he's actually grown another like inch and a half leading up to the draft. He's almost 6'11", which is like amazing. And I think that if you're a team drafting Franz Wagner, I think you're looking at the fact that he's still growing. I think you're looking at the fact that he was one of the very best defenders in all of college basketball last season, regardless of position. And, you know, if you're looking at that and you say, I'm not sure we have any other stars in this range, I could talk myself into taking Wagner as like my surefire great role player, the dude who's going to go out there and be almost like your poor man's Andre Iguodala and provide that kind of toughness, that kind of defensive versatility, that kind of offensive versatility where he's not the best player on your team or even the 3rd best player, but he's one of the best 4th best players in all of the NBA, if that makes any sense. So for me, I could talk myself into Wagner there. I think if I'm picking at 5, I'm now 100% taking Jalen Suggs because I like Cole Anthony. Yes. I like RJ Hampton, but those guys to me are not necessarily even point guards long-term. They're not necessarily even starters long-term. So yeah, I think if anything, this really is a great pick from an Orlando Magic perspective because they've now gone from saying, well, okay, we kind of need to take a flyer on one of these bigger forwards to where they can take one of the most surefire prospects in this entire draft. Who I will say, I'm not shocked to see him drop. I'm not so sure about Suggs' shooting ability. I do think that that's something that could hurt him like Killian Hayes last year. I think he's a really good playmaker. I think he's a dog. I think he's a good defender. I think there is a lot of things to like about Jalen Suggs. But of those top 4 prospects, I think he was clearly number 4. And I'm not shocked to see Scotty Barnes go ahead of him, especially to a team like Toronto that's kind of in limbo right now.
The Magic have a pretty interesting roster. I do like Suggs there because I don't think it's a bad idea to have competition for the 2 guard spots. Like Markelle Fultz was playing well before he got hurt again.
Oh, yeah.
You'd like to think he's part of your future, but how many times can he get hurt and be considered part of your future, both in terms of just like, is this guy actually healthy? Is this guy injury prone? And then that also like keeps him from developing. And then you have guys like Cole Anthony and RJ Hampton. Suggs is very much a guy that can play off the ball. He can be a 2 guard, maybe more so than a guy like Cole Anthony or Markelle Fultz. RJ Hampton can probably play off the ball better than those two as well. But it just creates that sense of competition. They got 4 young guards now that are going to have to fight for minutes and fight for those opportunities. And then they're going to be able to add a forward at 8. They have a roster that is just full of young guys that we'll see if any of them end up like really hitting and panning out. Like we mentioned the guards, guys like Chuma Okeke and Wendell Carter Jr. Those are 2 forwards, or Carter's probably a center for them at this point, that we don't know how good they truly will be, but they're going to have that opportunity. Then they obviously have Jonathan Isaac, who's fantastic when he's healthy. So they're going to get Suggs here and then have that ability to take another 3-4 forward. I think that puts them in a pretty interesting spot because they're just going to have a lot of guys that are young, but aren't like, we know they're going to be good. Like, we don't know if they're going to be good. So there's going to be a lot of like competition for minutes on that roster. I think that's going to be a pretty fun storyline for them throughout the years, just to have so many different young pieces that are going to be fighting for those roles on that team.
Yeah, that's a weird roster.
We really glossed over Scotty Barnes. We really glossed over Scotty Barnes on the Raptors and what that means. The Warriors are picking 7. And there was some talk about Pascal Siakam. And you gotta think if a Siakam trade is in the works or about to happen. And if it doesn't, that's a really good defensive team already. That's just going to be hellacious to try to fight in those like dog day January, February games where everyone's just tired. It gets dark after 6 hours of daylight. And if they trade Siakam, I mean, that's just going to blow the roof off of probably them as a playoff team as well, to go back to an earlier point. So I liked Scotty Barnes a lot. I thought everyone's been saying he's like a Draymond Green type. I don't think there's anybody that's a Draymond Green type because his IQ is just so much higher than you can really put onto a stat sheet. But he is like a big, athletic guy that's going to have his hands everywhere. And that really just fits the Toronto mold of like, oh, God, going to have to go up against him. He's like OG Anunoby. It's just like who turned into a really, nice player this past season. He just kind of fits that Masai mold. Does anybody think that there's a bigger move coming down now that Scotty Barnes is in Toronto?
I'm not quite sure because with the way that the Raptors are right now, I think they could easily talk themselves into just being like, hey, we're going to re-sign Kyle Lowry. We're going to keep everyone around and we're just going to add Scotty Barnes to what we already have here because they feel like they can make their way back to the playoffs next year regardless. They did have some bad luck. They were not even playing in the city of Toronto last year. So I think they could very easily talk themselves into just sticking with what they have and saying, look, almost no organization in the NBA has done a better job of developing raw athletic wings / power forwards than us in terms of Siakam, OG. You're talking about even Stanley Johnson showed more last year with the Toronto Raptors than he showed basically since he was a rookie with the Pistons. So, Mike,
Aaron, any thoughts on Stanley Johnson?
Well, dude, I'm going to have thoughts on Stanley Johnson till the day I die. But, I mean, it's
like Walter Herman, can't get him out of my mind.
I just like I said earlier, I'm not a big Scotty Barnes guy. I would have taken Jalen Suggs. I know that Toronto was trying to trade up to 3 and Cleveland was not biting. They're at a very interesting spot because they're so halfway in, halfway out that every time they add a young piece and it just seems like, they just need to embrace the youth movement, right? But whatever they're going to end up doing something with Kyle Lowry and they might trade Pascal Siakam. And if they do, then they'll have at least a core of young guys to move forward with in Anunoby, now Barnes, Chris Boucher. If Fred VanVleet is someone that they decide to keep around, they'll have him. They'll have Stanley Johnson. But they're in an interesting spot because the way that this Raptors team is built out, they're so halfway in, and I know that there's stuff going on with Kyle Lowry. Will he be on the team next year? He's 35 years old. Like, how many more good years does he really have? And even if he's back on the team next year, are they really good enough anyway to truly compete?
I don't know if anyone watching is a Sopranos fan, but in the words of Little Carmine, they're at the precipice of an enormous crossroads right now. They really are in a position where they could go either way at this moment in time. And it might not even necessarily come down to. Oh, I just saw Mike make a big old face right there. Mike, what was that for? I have to know.
I'm losing all my money, damn it.
Oh, Aaron. I'll fess up to this. I am illegally streaming right now. So I am slightly behind you guys. So I'm being.
Well, we'll just let you take this in naturally.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Aaron seems thrilled.
What is going on?
So we can get to that trade later. There, by the way, no trade happened, but the trade that happened yesterday, I thought had implications for this pick that's about to come down. Apparently not. Apparently not.
Oh man.
So there was another trade of Indiana sending a couple of picks to Milwaukee to get to 31.
Oh,
it doesn't really matter a whole lot.
Well, that's interesting. Now. Yeah, now I see it. Huh. Okay. I don't really get it, but okay. Oklahoma City apparently taking Josh Giddey out of or is it G'day? I can't do it with the accent. He is Australian. I don't know. I don't know if it's phonetic or not. However, that's really an interesting pick for them. We were talking about how Scotty Barnes fits in with Toronto. I'm interested to see how this fits in with Oklahoma City. I know Teo Maledon played a lot of minutes for them at the point guard last year. He wasn't especially good for them at the point guard last year. So I can understand why they would think about something like this, but I don't know. That Oklahoma City, man, they really did not come out of the draft lottery in a position I think they wanted to.
No, they got hurt the most. Arguably.
They really did not. And unlike the Magic, they did not get the luck of having one of those elite prospects, those top 4 prospects, drop to them. Or even get somebody like Scotty Barnes, who I think very much would fit that Oklahoma City Thunder mold as, long, athletic forward.
I remember listening to, I think it was the Low Post with Jonathan Gavoni and Mike Schmitz. They were talking about Josh Giddey in that on the Australian national team practicing, he was by far the best playmaker on the court. I think him and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is kind of interesting. That's kind of fun. I mean, you have 2 pretty high-end playmakers, it appears. And, every time I think about like a reach or anything, whether it's a real draft or a fantasy sports, anything like that, if you want your guy, go get your guy. If you've done all your homework and you feel that confident and that he's not going to be there if you pick again and you can't get back in and draft him, you want your guy, I mean, go and get him. Go and pick him. And all the other stuff of mock draft stuff, they don't have to worry about Aaron being upset that he just lost money on a pick or anything like that. If you want your guy, just, honestly, just go get him. And that does throw things off. Aaron, who were you expecting at 6?
I was expecting it to be James Bouknight. That was the name that was thrown around with the Thunder the most. And I mean, Josh Giddey was a guy that was a fringe top 10 pick. And Now he goes at 6 over a guy like Bouknight, over guys like Franz Wagner and Jonathan Kuminga. Like, this is really interesting to me. I would have taken Bouknight.
So what does Golden State do? What does Golden State do? Because they're a team. He does fit that kind of win now mold. I mean, I think making the pick is probably a bad sign for Golden State fans. You want them to package that pick and get a star so that Curry and Clay and all them are competing for a championship. I don't know if a rookie gets you anywhere closer, but I think it should be Bouknight as well.
Yeah, I think you do it in a heartbeat. Like, Kuminga is a question mark. I liked Jonathan Kuminga before the season, but he had such a rough go in the G League. Then he got hurt. I think you get a guy like Bouknight, it allows you to go with Steph and Clay, and you can either start Bouknight or bring him off the bench, but you can go with Steph, Bouknight, and Clay, or you can, again, like I said, bring Bouknight off the bench. That's probably more likely for them since they're a team that I don't know what they do with Andrew Wiggins, but they still might have some moves left in them. Like, they might make this pick and still trade it. I think maybe now that Bouknight is on the table, you're going to get more of those teams that were on the fringe of maybe trading up in, because I can't imagine many were expecting Giddey to go at 6. I think that certainly raises the value of this pick for Golden State.
And if you're Golden State, this is fantastic, because what did they lack more than anything else last year? Shot makers. They just after Wiggins and Steph, it was just like, who can hit a jumper? Someone, anyone, Bueller, and Bouknight is that kind of player. So yeah, even if he's just coming off the bench for them, I think he's a player that could come in instantly and contribute to Golden State. I think the question then comes in, who do you take at 10? If he's there, I'd really consider Franz Wagner, because I think that he is another player that could come in and help shore them up a little bit in terms of that wing front court kind of play, provide good defense, not really need much of the ball, but can score if needed. So if I'm Golden State, I think I'm feeling pretty good, even if I can't pull off a trade here. If I can get 2 players, one, maybe 2 players that can actually contribute to a winning team at 7 and 10, I'm thrilled. And I think Bouknight absolutely could be that kind of guy, because he just makes shots. He just makes shots. And that's something they've really been lacking since they lost Sean Livingston, Andre Iguodala, Leandro Barbosa. They had all these great scorers.
I remember in 2016 just getting nuked by Sean Livingston and Leandro Barbosa and thinking, oh my God, the Cavs, like Curry and Clay weren't even playing well and they get crushed by Sean Livingston and Leandro Barbosa. And I'm like, just put the Cavaliers on ice. So I don't really like Jonathan Kuminga for the Warriors just because he seems like a project player. Like, that's a guy that is going to need some molding. I thought he was a nice Oklahoma City pick. I mean, they're like all moldable players, but they ended up not going with Kuminga. It looks like Golden State's pick is in.
Yeah. And, I mean, Kuminga's so raw. He makes Scotty Barnes look like a 10-year vet. I mean, just really, it's like physical tools, and let's just hope it works.
Right. Yeah. And ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski did tweet out that Golden State's still discussing trades at the number 7 pick. And I feel like that pick will end up getting traded, whoever that player is, because they do need win now pieces. I feel like I think if you go into next year with
Jonathan Kuminga.
Interesting.
What is going on with Bouknight? Am I about to lose more money? Because I have multiple bets on him being drafted within the top 10. And we're now at we're back to Orlando.
Yep.
They can't Orlando.
They can't even take Bouknight here. They don't need another guard unless they trade the pick.
No, they don't.
Can they squeeze another asset out of this?
Yeah.
So with Kuminga going to the Warriors, I think if anything, that strengthens the idea that they're trying to trade whatever they've got going on here. Or, I mean, here's the other possibility is they're just saying, screw it, we're going to do what we can for the next 2 years, and then we're going to completely rebuild after that. And they're just going to kind of keep Wiseman and Kuminga on ice until then. But that doesn't really make very much sense to me. So, man, it's going to be really weird to see what the Warriors do. But another move feels almost inevitable at this point, yes?
It feels inevitable, and I feel like they need to make one.
Yeah, it does feel like they need to make one because you can't waste Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. Like, they have a finite amount of wins left in them and winning basketball left in them. And you need to milk as much of that as you can because that's your best shot at winning a title anytime soon. They can't – I mean, they have two very raw prospects right now in Kuminga and James Wiseman, two guys that don't necessarily fit that win now, go get them. And, like, if they had Book Night or someone that you feel like could come in right away and at least give you, like, impactful minutes off the bench, you could feel a lot more comfortable with them keeping the pick. But with Kuminga, this is a guy that is, again, really raw, especially offensively. He does have some great tools, the intangibles. He's 6'9", he's built, he's long, he's athletic. But the skill set is what concerns me, and I just don't know if he can make an impact for them right away.
Yeah. You see what he could be, but seeing how he gets there is an entirely different story with Kuminga. There's so many questions about, unfortunately, like his technical ability right now. The physical tools are obviously there, but yeah, this is a weird pick for Golden State unless they're planning on doing something with Kuminga and Wiseman and 10, because otherwise it doesn't really make very much sense.
They have 14, right?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, they still have 14.
Oh, sorry, 14, excuse 14. Me. Not yeah. Yeah, they do. 7 to 14, excuse me. I don't know how to say in 10. Yeah, so and now Orlando's in an interesting place here as well because, like you said, Book Night does not make sense for them here.
Nope.
Do you think they go with somebody like Franz Wagner? Do you think they, I don't see a whole lot of other options. Everyone else pretty much in this range is a guard, yeah? I mean, you don't take Corey Kispert
Moses
here.
Moody. No, it's too early.
Book Night is really going to fall into Sacramento's lap. That's crazy. That's actually a nice guy to pair with De'Aaron Fox.
I agree.
Yep.
And Sacramento needs guys that can hold a basketball in their hand and maybe even dribble it at the same time. So that's
asking a lot of the Sacramento Kings, don't you think?
That's an interesting pairing. I do like that. I do like that for them. We'll see if they actually make the pick, but they really should, as the Magic are coming in with the 8th pick. As expected. It's Franz Wagner, yeah.
Yeah. That seemed like the common sense pick there. And honestly,
with Mo Wagner.
Oh yeah, he is on the team. I forgot. Wow, the brothers reunited. This is the Morris twins in Phoenix all over again, man. Hopefully, although I will say, I'm going to guess Mo and Franz Wagner will not get into a fist fight with somebody outside of their local YMCA. That just call me crazy. You never know, but some guy could say some disparaging things about Wiener Schnitzel or whatever. I don't know, but yeah. Wow. Okay. I have to say, I really like this pick for Orlando. And I think if I'm looking at their draft right now, considering where they were on lottery night, seeing what they have right here, I think if I'm a Magic fan, I'm pretty happy about how this worked out for me.
Yep.
I think I'm pretty happy because, when you saw 5 and 8, I think as a Magic fan, your heart kind of dropped a little bit because you said, we're not getting one of those top 4 guys. And now you did get your top 4 guy, and you got the player at number 8 who makes the most sense of pretty much any remaining player that's going to go in the lottery. So from an Orlando Magic perspective, I think all things considered, they've had a really, really nice draft so far.
Yeah. I love Jalen Suggs for them at 5. I thought that was a huge opportunity that fell into their lap. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Franz Wagner, but at the same time, I'm not really sure what else they could have done here. The big names on the board right now are all guards, so can't necessarily fault him for taking him, especially if there was no one really giving up anything to move up. So, I mean, again, I just don't know how much I believe in Wagner succeeding in the NBA. Like, I think, Jasper, you were right earlier when you're like, this is a guy that probably is just going to end up being a good role player for a long time. And I guess I can buy into that. Like, I just don't know if I feel comfortable taking him with the 8th pick when I really need just some talent on my team. And I think I'd rather take a shot on someone there. But again, I don't know who that really is when the best players on the board right now outside of Wagner are essentially all guards. And that's not really what Orlando needs right now.
And you even said it right there, Aaron, you need talent if you're Orlando. Is there anyone really that you're looking at that's going to be taken in the next 10 picks that is head and shoulders above Franz Wagner in terms of talent? And maybe there, of course, statistically speaking, there are almost certainly 1 or 2 all-star players going to be selected before the end of this first round, but nobody that to me looks obvious. Nobody to me that looks like Orlando should have taken them. You could talk yourself, I guess, maybe into Bouknight or Moody just based on talent alone. Maybe even Jalen Johnson.
Davion Mitchell, maybe.
Davion Mitchell, maybe. But those are, let's be honest, those are guys that are also probably going to end up being role players in the NBA. I think Moody and Bouknight, maybe not so much. But with the situation the Orlando Magic are in, I think they made the right pick here. And just frankly speaking, most guys that get taken in the middle of the lottery end up being role players anyway. So if I'm the Magic, I think I'm pretty happy with this. I've got Wendell Carter Jr. I've got Jonathan Isaac coming back for 25 games next season before he gets hurt, or goes to Bible camp or something. All things considered, how much they've had to tear down this roster in such a short amount of time, I think they've done a good job.
Considering they made that trade in moving Vooch to Chicago, I think it's been a huge success. I mean, pretty much the pieces that they got back are good pieces. Wendell Carter Jr. is a good piece. They traded Aaron Gordon. RJ Hampton was pretty good. Came back and he was pretty good. Gary Harris is a nice, quote unquote, veteran for that team on the wing. I thought they did a pretty nice job, and I think this draft is fine. I may have just taken Bouknight anyway and said, well, let's just figure it out. I mean, if you have to move Markelle Fultz and his $17 million, why not? I would have even looked at Moses Moody, maybe. I mean, he's the youngest guy. You're not going to be competing for a playoff spot next year. You can afford to take a really young guy. So I'll ask Jasper, because Aaron knows. Who do you think the Sacramento Kings are going to take with 9? That Bouknight's fallen to them, and Moses Moody is still there.
Well, I did see Aaron go, what is going on? So I have to assume it's somebody funny. I'm going to say Davion Mitchell, because that, to me, am I right? Am I right?
You are right, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
no,
right.
you know why?
Davion
And you know
Mitchell.
why I said that? because that pick doesn't make any sense for Sacramento to be making right now, and that's what I swear to God. I was like, who's the guy that they really almost certainly should not take right here at number 9? Davion Mitchell. God, sometimes I swear, man, it's like the Lions. I have some sort of like psychic like tuning into how bad front offices think.
It's so funny because
I don't think you want to be on the same
supposed to
wavelength
be
as Sacramento.
climbing up the board. Like Bouknight was like, he went from like 15 to all of a sudden he was being knocked at 6 every single time. And here we are. All right, so it's Memphis now. So do you like Ja and Bouknight in the backcourt together? I can get behind it.
Yes.
They need some more. They need some more offensive firepower. So I like that. Of course, I've liked that the last 3 teams are outside of the Magic, and it hasn't happened. So what do I know? But
I mean, in that case,
Sacramento do that.
Kings gonna Kings, baby.
They do that.
I'd be interested to actually hear what actual Kings fans think of that. I would, from an outsider perspective, to me, this is just a no-brainer pick. And by that, I mean you'd have to have no brain to make this pick. So, yeah, I don't know, man. This is a weird one. But with 10, to answer your question, Aaron, yeah, I mean, you're playing what, Dylan Brooks as your 3 in that case? I mean, he already kind of is their 3. I guess it kind of depends, like, what do you see DeAnthony Melton? What do you see the role of Desmond Bane? What do you see from those guys moving forward? I think you're probably right. I think probably the pick is someone like Bouknight here, because if you're a team like Memphis, definitely you could always use more shot makers, more offensive firepower. They have to depend on some very unreliable guys on offense, and even more so next year because they just traded their second best offensive player, arguably, in Jonas Valanciunas for Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe. Bledsoe's not going to be on the team next year, of course, but they've really have set themselves up, for a team that was already not exactly lighting scoreboards on fire. They need something. Because you can't be depending on Dylan Brooks to drop 20 points a game on 41% shooting next year. You really cannot.
Well, Bouknight makes some sense. I like that pairing in the backcourt.
Mm-hmm. And
makes
again,
a lot of sense.
And even if he's just coming off the bench as a scorer, that's okay too, because you have other players, but they do have a lot of guys kind of filling that backup 2-guard role right now. It must be said.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I'm never betting on the draft again. I'm never betting
Aaron.
on the draft again. What is going on?
Jasper.
Keon Johnson?
Who is it?
Is it Keon Johnson?
No.
Nah.
It's not. It's not.
All right.
You're getting too big brain.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to get this one. Oh, God. Is it like Corey Kispert?
No, I actually don't think that you are going to get this one, because I had him sliding quite a bit more.
Oh, Jalen Johnson?
No.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop guessing then.
I think you need to keep guessing. I think I want to see how many names you give before you get it right.
Oh my God.
Wow. Oh my gosh. What is going on? I gotta delete I gotta like transfer my money and delete my account. Wow.
Aaron just taking all his life savings and setting them on fire like the Joker in Dark Knight. Just
right.
Just rough. Just rough.
Just a big pile of cash on fire.
All these damn $5 bets. They add up, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty high reward type pick from Memphis.
I think Detroit should trade up right now and just take Bouknight so we can get this done over with. Like, goodness gracious.
Which by the way, we actually haven't touched on really the Mason Plumlee thing with him being traded. The Pistons still have, I believe, 4 second-round picks in this draft. What do you guys seeing happening there? Do you think they end up trading back into the first? Do you think they just take 4 guys and say whatever, hopefully we get somebody here?
I don't think they're going to take 4 guys. I think they're going to try to move a few of them around, maybe to get back into the first or just in separate trades, but I don't think they're going to make 4 picks, personally.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I'm finally getting to the selection. I'm way behind. This is why you just pay for this. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't going to guess that one. Wait, what? Huh. I feel like
that's 2 back-to-back head scratchers.
Yeah. I got like some Arrested Development him type thing going on right now. Like, him? Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting pick. Not one I would have made if I was Memphis.
Wow. Well, this has been a fascinating top 10, I have to say.
So we got through 10 picks. That's not bad.
We were discussing before the draft even started. We were thinking, they'll be done with a 3rd pick by 9. And then Troy Weaver basically just sprinted to the phone, had Adam Silver on speed dial number 1. Which I have to say,
this one.
Yeah, as somebody who has had to suffer through like 5 hours of the first round of the NFL draft before, I do appreciate the NBA for keeping things moving.
Yeah, I guess I was also under the impression that the draft started at 8:30, not 8. But whoops.
Whatever.
Right.
Hey, we got in before the Cade pick happened. No harm, no foul.
We did.
No blood on the court. We're all good, man.
So we got through 10 picks. Before we wrap up our stream. Two questions, I guess. One for Aaron, because he's really waiting for Book Night to go. Where is he going to get drafted? Where is this going to lead?
Clue. Charlotte really doesn't.
He might
need
come
him.
all the way back to the Warriors.
He really might. Wouldn't that be something? Let's see. What's up? What's after Charlotte? Who's got 12? No, Indiana has 13.
Yeah. So
yep, Indy has 13.
So 12 is the is that the Wizards?
No.
No, sorry.
No, it's not.
11. Oh my god. Whatever. I can't.
12 is San Antonio.
Oh yeah. Jeez.
See, like I'm gonna say it now. Book Night doesn't seem like a guy San Antonio would take, but that means they'll take him because that's how this night is gone. So
yeah, and I've heard that they're kind of. Wasn't there a rumor of them moving on from DeJounte Murray?
Yeah, I have seen stuff like that. I think that'd be a huge mistake for them. Really, that would not make sense for me if I'm San Antonio. Of course, they're rebuilding, but to me, Murray seems like the guy or one of the guys I would really want there while I'm rebuilding.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other question before we end the stream then is, we kind of got blindsided, but what's your most surprising pick so far? Was it Jalen Suggs falling to 5? Was it Zaire Williams at 10?
I would say it's Zaire Williams at 10. I mean, there was talks at least about Scotty Barnes going 4. Maybe I didn't believe him, but there were at least the talks about it. I think James Bouknight falling out of the top 10 and Zaire Williams going 10 are the 2 things that are the most crazy about this draft so far.
Josh Giddey going 6.
Yeah, I was going to say
that one as well.
For me, that was the biggest surprise. I did think Giddey had a chance of going in the top 10, but Oklahoma City was certainly not the team I thought was going to be taking him. Yeah, that's just a strange one. I'll be honest, I'm so taken aback by it. I don't even really have like coherent thoughts on it yet. That's something I really need to see how it falls into place more when the regular season starts, because I'm really interested in what they're expecting from him and what they want his role to be next year. So yeah, I would have to go with Giddey, followed by probably Davion Mitchell. Well, I can't say I'm surprised by Davion Mitchell to the Kings, because I literally was like, oh, they took Davion Mitchell. But if it was any other organization in their shoes, I think I'd have been pretty surprised by that one as well. Especially since they took Tyrese Haliburton last year.
Right, their backcourt defense, really their whole defense sucks so bad. Like, it almost makes sense to get Davion Mitchell, but he's going to be coming off the bench. Unless, of course, there's a secret Ben Simmons, De'Aaron Fox trade that's on the way that we just don't know about yet.
Or possibly
it's kind of wild.
We did see Buddy Hield involved in trade talks with the Lakers earlier today. There's a good chance they move on from Hield this offseason,
I guess.
And perhaps, Mitchell's probably coming off the bench, but maybe they go with Tyrese Haliburton as the starting 2 guard next year, Mitchell off the bench, or the other way around. I could see either way.
Aaron. Okay, this is how I'll actually end the stream. Aaron's guy finally gets picked. Charlotte is going to take James Bouknight at 11. Just like we all thought it was going to happen.
Oh my God.
I do love Aaron called it too. He said, yeah, this doesn't make any sense, so they're going to take Bouknight. You have to love it, man. You got to love it.
Oh my God. 10.5. I placed like 4 separate bets. The line had moved like 4 different times. I placed like 3 or 4 separate bets on Bouknight to go under 10.5. And of course he goes at 11.
Wow.
Oh,
good thing we didn't do the bet online commercial read today. This would have been
That's
true.
Yeah, this would have been a bad showing. A bad showing. Oh man.
Guys, any other thoughts before we wrap up the stream?
No, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens the rest of this draft for Detroit. Obviously, we'll keep you updated on PalestPistons.com and Palace Pistons socials with everything going on there.
Yeah, I'm going to be keeping these shades on for the rest of the night, even though I am indoors. The Pistons' future is looking bright. I do agree with you guys. I do think Troy Weaver is going to do something else with these 4 second-round picks. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Pistons back at the end of the first round or even early on in the second round. But yeah, It's great to see Cade Cunningham walking up that stage, officially a Piston. He's got the buffs on. It's done. It's over. We don't have to speculate about this anymore. Now we just finish up the draft. And
thank God.
And with the $8 million of Mason Plumlee's money that's now off the books, we get ready for free agency.
True. And now Aaron can focus on Summer League.
Oh, next Sunday.
It's
Game
crazy, right?
OKC.
Is Cade going to play in that game? Do you think so?
Absolutely. Book it.
All right. You heard it. Aaron Johnson said book it, so that if Aaron Johnson said book it, so that means there's no chance he's playing, folks.
Shit. He's not wrong. Damn it.
Guys, this was very fun. Our first live stream. And I think it was for a good occasion. This is a big momentous occasion. This is a franchise-altering move for the Pistons. And thanks to everybody who joined us on the stream. I don't know how many people we had. It doesn't matter. We just wanted to talk basketball. But thank you all for joining us. It was a lot of fun. We lasted a little bit longer than I think we planned on it. But I think the moral of this stream is the Pistons got Cade Cunningham. And now we get to hurry up and wait to see him on the court. And Aaron can get ready for Summer League and get ready to figure out what the trophy is going to look like for maybe the best Summer League team ever put together.
Seriously, if they don't, they should go undefeated, right? They should not lose a single game. That team is loaded.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, thank you for joining me on this first stream, part of the Palace of Pistons podcast. And again, the Palace of Pistons podcast is part of the Believe Podcast Network. You can get all of our other content, including draft and free agency content, which is coming pretty quickly too, guys, in addition to Summer League at palaceofpistons.com. So please join us over there for additional content. We're going to have a lot more for you very, very soon. So for my co-hosts, Aaron Johnson and Jasper Apollonia, I am Mike Anguilano. Thank you so much for joining us on this inaugural Palace of Pistons stream. And